Everyone, welcome to another live with Shelly James, and I am thrilled to be back with you guys tonight. As you know, this month is all about peeping into fall, right? Little fun fall designs. Starting to get into some pumpkins and things like that. But tonight, I thought it would be fun to do something that's kind of fall, especially in the colors, but a little more fun, a little different from pumpkins, and that is mushrooms and ferns. So it's going to be a cute little design that I came up with that I want to share with all of you. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But before we get there, I've got a few things I want to share with you. So before I get started on that, just let's see who's on. If you're on, give me a quick hello and let me know you're out there. Hi, Kim. Thank you for joining on my YouTube channel. And we've got a few of you on Facebook. Hi, Joy. Hello, Sally. How y'all doing? Hope you're having a good week. Hi, Teresa and Greg. Hello, Bobby. Hello, Linda and Susan. Wonderful. Well, thanks for coming. So I shared with you that I've started a new series on my YouTube channel called Shelly Loves to Paint. And we're into the 4th lesson already. Can you believe that? So this coming Monday, the lesson is going to be, and that's a free lesson. There's no registration. It drops at noon. It's not live. It's pre-recorded. But that's going to be this fun little fall design. So this is coming up this Monday. So if you are following and subscribing to my YouTube channel, you'll get notified. Make sure you ring that bell so you get notified. And if you're enjoying these lessons, as you're watching them, if you would please give me a thumbs up and leave a comment just so I know that you liked it, or leave some suggestions if there's something that you would like to see in the future. I'm having a lot of fun doing this new series, so I hope you are enjoying it as well. And if you paint something that I created and you want to share that with me, I'd love to see how you do and give you any tips or answer any questions if you send it to me. So just private message me any of your paintings and I will be happy to get back to you. Okay, so let's see. We've got hello, Lorene, hello, Chitra and Kathy and Sophia. Oh, Sophia, it's so good to see you. Long time no see. You bet. Well, wonderful. Glad to have you back. Hope you're doing well. Hi, Dee and Alan and Margarita and Amanda. Wonderful. Thanks for joining, guys. So make sure you check out that lesson coming up this Monday. It drops at noon Eastern time. Okay. Hello, Rachel and Lorelei. Hello. Amanda, thanks for joining. Okay, so in addition to that, I've got fall themed shorts that drop every Wednesday at 9, I believe. So check those out as they come. And then coming up in September, I'm working on already the shorts for that, which are going to be Halloween themed, along with a lot of my demos too. So we're going to get more into the Halloween looks for our next series in the next month. Hello from rainy, gloomy Michigan. You know what? It's been rainy and gloomy here in Florida today too. So we're in the same boat, I guess. All right. So let's see. Oh, just a reminder that tonight's live, I will be doing, I said the mushrooms and ferns, and then I won't be on next weekend for the holiday weekend. Can you believe it's Labor Day already? That went by really fast. And then just a real quick reminder to all of you who have signed up, or if you haven't signed up yet, we're doing our second class this August class series, and that's our Burst of Sunflowers, right? So that's coming up this Tuesday. The email went out to everyone who signed up already. That went out earlier today. So check your inboxes. And remember, it's a blind carbon copy. So make sure you're checking your spam or your junk folders if you're not seeing it. And if you absolutely can't find it, just message me and let me know and I'll get that to you. Okay. But that's what this is coming up on this Tuesday. So make sure you're ready. And if you haven't signed up for that, it's not too late. You can still get into this. It's just $30 and it's going to be a lot of fun. So I hope you'll come join me. Okay. Then we have coming up in September. I shared my new classes for September last week, but in case you missed it, we're going to go over those real quick. So the first one is my pretty kitty in the orange flowers. Isn't she sweet? And she's going to be on September 9th. And these are always from 7 to 9 p.m. And each class is always $30. If you can't attend, it's not a problem because everybody, those who attend and those who cannot, everybody gets the video recording sent to you the next day. And that's yours to keep. You download it and keep it forever and play it back. And I hope you will join me for this one. And then we have our second class in September, which is going to be on September 23rd. And I want to get over here so you can see that's going to be my pumpkin and vine in earth tones. So this one's going to be a fun one to learn how to get all those awesome leaf shapes in there and this tone on tone. And you can do this in any color theme you like. I just chose this kind of earth tone look for this. But we scrape on the background and then we add this linen colored pumpkin with lots of fun shading. We learn about shading in this one. And some leaf rolling, so stroke rolling to get the edges of those leaves rolled. And this is going to be a fun one. They're all fun, right? So that's September 23rd, again from 7 to 9 p.m. Now, as always, if you want both classes, you can get both for a price break. You save $8, and so they're both for $52. You can sign up, go to my website. That's michellemybelledesigns.com. Or you can leave me a message or private message me, and I will be happy to send you an invoice for that, for any of the classes that you want, or both of them. And then also I do have a paint kit, and I had someone ask me about that last time. And that is, the paint kit is all the paints, all the colors that you need to do both classes for the month. So that's 15 multi-surface and matte colors plus floating medium, all the 2-ounce bottles. And we ship those out to you immediately for $34.95. Okay. And again, you can message me if you want that, or you can get it on my website. It's listed under the both classes product. All right. So I didn't put it under the individual classes because it's for the kit is for all the colors for all the for both projects. So I put it under the both projects listing, but you can just go and add that into your cart separately, and I will get that shipped out to you right away. $34.95 plus shipping for the paint set. Okay. So I'm excited to get into those classes next month, and but I'm not wishing the days away. That's for sure. We want to stick with our summer for as long as we can, right? So anyway, all right, so that's what's coming up, and I hope you're looking forward to it. Now, also a reminder, I have my August BOGO sale going on right now. And just to clarify, that is buy one, get one 50% off on all pre-recorded video lessons. So the ones for this month in September do not qualify for that, okay? It's anything that was previously taught from July, and back. And that's anything out on my website under the downloadable video lessons page. So you're going to go to Learn to Paint and downloadable video lessons. And that also includes all my packets. So all the packets that are under the packet, Learn to Paint, and then packets. It's a mix and match or one of the same, whatever you like, but buy one, get one 50% off. And that runs through the 31st of August. So hope you'll take advantage. Some of you have already taken advantage of that offer, and thank you very much for that. And I'm excited to see what y'all choose when you do that, because it's always interesting to see what people want to learn, and it's fun. So, all right. I think that's everything that I needed to share with all of you. Just a real quickie reminder of everything coming up. And so I am ready to get to tonight's demo. So tonight's demo is mushrooms and ferns. And it's a cute little design that I created of a trio of pretty little rust-colored rust-colored mushrooms surrounded by some fun fall-colored ferns. And so let's get overhead and get started on that. All right, so here is our design. Let's come down. Little noise there, sorry. All right, and so this is the design that we're going to be creating tonight. So this is Pueblo and some linen, a little bit of yellow ochre for our mushroom caps. We've got some burnt umber with some asphaltum shading underneath, and we've got some fun colors I'm going to share with you how to just kind of have fun with the different color combinations for the ferns and adding the grass. Okay, so let's get our colors. So I'll go through that with you real quick. And I was in Hobby Lobby the other day, and I can tell you there are mushrooms galore in there on their shelves. So this is, I think, a very timely design to share with all of you. Okay, so some fall colors we're working with here. This is linen, burnt umber. I've got some floating medium here. This is all folk art, multi-surface or matte acrylic paints. Okay, so then we have yellow ochre, Pueblo. This is asphaltum. That's a matte acrylic. All right, and then we have fresh cut grass. That's a new one, or not a new one, but one we don't use very often. And thicket. Okay, so that's what we're working with here. So I'm going to set this where I can see it. And I've sketched out my design. You don't have to be a great drawer, but it does help to kind of sketch out these mushroom caps just to get a good shape for them. So just think about that. Oops, sorry for all that bouncing around there. Okay, so let's start with what's in the background. So let's look at this again. We've got all these ferns splayed out behind our mushrooms. And you can add them. I actually, when I created this initially, I added them after. But I'm going to show you that it's actually better and easier if you add them first, and then we stroke our mushrooms after that. So it puts everything in perspective, working from the back forward. Okay. All right. So I've got a number 12 flat here. Oh no, that's not what I want. I want a smaller brush for the ferns. So this is a number 8 flat. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and get that damp in the water, laid on the paper towel. And we're going to pick up our colors here. So this is for the largest fern in the background. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and load this with the fresh cut grass, pulling from the edge of my color, working that in on both sides. Okay. And then I'm going to come over here next to my linen and stroke a little bit of a lighter color on one edge. And we're going to be picking up some different colors, but this is what I'm going to start with for this initial stroke. And I want to get a little bit of floating medium worked into my brush just because I'm on paper. It's going to help that move a little better. Okay. So let's shift this over just a little bit and move this right here. Okay, so first thing I want to do is stroke my stem. So with my light color leading, dragging the green behind, I'm going to go ahead and stroke that stem right there. And I still don't have quite enough paint. There we go. All right, so getting that stem on. And then let's start up here at the top. I'm going to do some lighter strokes, and then we're going to add some little bit darker colors. So it's a slide. This is an angle leaf. So you're pushing and sliding and standing back to the chisel. All right, so let's come down a little closer so you can see. There we go. And there's a little bit of a glare. So let me see if I can tilt this just a little more. It always seems like even when I have my table tilted, it's still not quite enough. All right, so we're going to come right here, and you want to come right off the stem and pull that out to the tip. And then you're going to mirror that on the other side. I'll get my hand out of the way. Handle straight up and down, and then push, slide, and lift. Okay, now I want to start adding some other colors here. So I'm going to come next to my asphaltum on my light edge. So a little more of that fresh cut grass and the asphaltum on the lighter edge. And then we're going to stroke another one. And we'll come this way. Right, so whatever you put on one side, you put on the other. A little more color here. a little bit stronger on the asphaltum. And you're going to make them gradually bigger, longer, with a little more pressure as you go down towards the bottom. And I want to alternate, so let's come back to our linen. And you can actually let these kind of touch and overlap. It looks better when you do that. It looks a little more natural. And let's go this way. There, I'm trying to keep my hand out of the way. All right. So you just keep side stroking the colors that you want. We'll come out here. Now, as I'm getting close to my mushroom caps, it's okay if you go over the edge, but I am going to kind of try to avoid as much as I can. A little medium in here. All right, so this one's going to come right to the edge of that mushroom cap and stop. And same thing on this side. Edge of that one and stop. So it's just, you could actually come from the edge of the cap and come back to the stem. Okay, got a little more of the linen and the green. And we'll come up here. Let's pull it back. And we'll come right there, right to the edge. Okay. Continuing. We're going to lose more pressure. We're way down towards the bottom now. And I'm just going to lift right up there so it sweeps away and I don't have a hard line. Get a little of the asphaltum. And we'll come right up there. All right, so it looks like it's going behind the mushrooms. We'll do one more. Come right up there. And that'll be good for that. Okay, so that's our first one. That's larger. And the next two are going to be a little more dainty, a little softer. So I'm going to switch to a smaller flat. I'm going to work with a 6 flat for these smaller ones. So let's get that one damp. And we're going to go ahead and pick up, in this case, I'm going to start with burnt umber. Right, so loading the flat with smaller ones, we load it with one color, and then we come and side stroke the other. So in this case, I want Pueblo on the other edge. So I'm going to come and side stroke my Pueblo. So I've got burnt umber and Pueblo on this, all right? And we're going to come right through here, skip the stem, and come over. Oops. We'll cover that up with a leaf. Okay. Oh, one thing I wanted to point out to you. Let me come back before I miss it. Let me get my green here at least, and my linen. After you stroke all of those leaves on a fern, it's a good idea to come back and re-stroke that stem so it kind of sets it back on top. Okay. So just something to think about. It's not it's not a must, but it looks better if you do. All right, so we've got our colors on our flat, little 6 flat. Let's get a little more of that burnt umber and get a little more of the Pueblo. All right, so we're going to come right down here and start at that tip and pull that little stroke. All right, so this is a 6 flat. These are going to be smaller. All right, and we're going to come there and there. So I don't know if that little rust color is showing. It's kind of as, it looks real pretty. So, and you're just going to go, I'm going to come along one edge and then we'll do the opposite. So we'll keep going down this side, pick up more of that dark. And when you get into the curves, that's where you have an opportunity to overlap your strokes and they look a little more natural when you do that. Just keep picking up color. And remember, as we're going down, we're getting larger with our stroke. Now this one's going to actually come from behind the stem of the mushroom. So you come out here and then finish it off. Okay. So you actually start kind of flat up against the edge of that mushroom stem, and then you can pull your stroke. All right. And then here, let's come from here, and we're going right up to the edge of that mushroom there. Okay. So now on the opposite side, there, and when you come around curves on this one, let's stroke it on that side, they're going to spray out a little more. Okay. So here, it's going to be a little straighter. And then there we can cross it over. Spray that one out. So just have fun with the placement of these leaves. It looks better if you can change the direction that they're going. All right, now here we're going to come right up against that cap of that mushroom, so I can actually just come from that and pull back to the stem. All right, and then this one you're not going to see opposite that, but here you will. Right, and it's going to be pretty good size. We'll go right over this. So with the pressure, you can get pretty big on a 6. All right, so that's that fern. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean those colors off. We're still going to work with the same size brush. I was reading one of your questions on the chat. What Greg was saying was adding medium sometimes makes my brush muddy. Yeah, with these smaller brushes, I actually didn't add any medium other than to stroke the stem, because you should be able to get good strokes without drying out with this size brush and avoid getting muddy. And it's really important, as I mentioned, oops, I don't want to pick up that color, that you want to load with the dominant color and then side stroke your less dominant color. Okay. Other way around, you want to load your least dominant and side stroke the dominant. Okay. So we're going to come back to our greens here. I'm going to come right next to my thicket and then get the fresh cut grass. So right in between these two colors here. Okay. And we're going to do this last one. So this one's coming from behind the big one in the center and between that and the little one on the left. So we're going to do our stem. And I forgot to do my stem on that one. Let me come back. I can do that with my 8. All right, so back here and then here. And all that does is just kind of cover up any overlaps or oopses that you might have had across the stem. Okay, so we've got our 2 greens now, and we'll see what we do with this one. I might have even come and put a little bit of white to brighten that up, but we're going to come right from here. So in this case, I'm going to start from the back and work my way to the front. Right there, and we're coming right up to that mushroom cap there. And then we'll start giving them a little bit of a turn. And let's get just a little touch of white. So I'm just going to come right here next to my white and give that a little stroke. And we'll pull this one. Yeah, that woke that up a little bit. Okay, and that's really kind of what you want to do. It might be darker underneath the cap of the mushroom, and then it gets lighter as it comes out and away from that shadow. Okay, so we'll come here, and I'm using less pressure as I get to the tip or to the point of the fern. And then let's do one more here, and then one little one there. Okay, and now we can come back. And remember, we're on a curve here, so they're going to overlap a little bit where they're folding in on each other. A little bit of that white. Right through there. And this one needs a little stronger dark. Here we go. Okay. So if you don't like a stroke, you can always stroke back over it. Right, and now I'm going to stay away from that white and keep it just the two greens for the rest of these leaves. And we're going to come right up to this cap here and stop. And same thing here, right there and stop. Okay, so that is all of our ferns. Nothing too tough. Those strokes are pretty simple, those angle leaves, and working with the smaller brushes. All right, so next what I want to do is I want to get in the base underneath color of the mushroom caps, because then we need to do some shading. So I'm going to come, this is a 12 flat. I got that damp. Let's get a little bit of medium, and we're going to get burnt umber. Okay, so this is pretty simple. You're just going to base coat underneath these mushroom caps with the burnt umber. Come right up to the stem, right? And I always try to mimic the movement instead, so I wouldn't go side to side here to fill this in. I'm actually stroking following the curve that the cap would actually make, just so that if that stroke ends up being visible, which this won't, but at least it will look more natural. There. All right. So that's underneath that cap. Get a little more medium. And we'll do this one. It's almost too big of a brush. I probably should have switched to a 10. So if you're struggling in this smaller space, as always, and any time that happens, you want to switch to a smaller brush. There we go. All right. So we're letting those stems come up into the center of the mushroom cap. Okay. Now I'm going to wipe off that brush. Actually, no. I want to switch to a smaller brush because I tried it with this brush when I originally stroked it, and it was a little tough getting in there, especially on the smaller ones. So let's come to, hold on one second. There it goes. So let's come to our 8 flat. All right, and I'm going to load this with linen. And then we're going to come and side stroke some of this burnt umber. Just a little bit. We don't want it super strong, but just tinting it slightly. So linen and little burnt umber. All right, so what you want to do here is, again, as I was mentioning, you want to think of the curves. So everything comes from the stem out to the edge of the inside of the cap. So you're chisel edging out, following that curve. All right, can you see that? And then on this side, out. I'm leading with the light color. And so that's natural. What's happening is that little bit of burnt umber is naturally shading this stroke from the center. Okay, I'm going out. And then from here, we're going to go up. Now, this brush is not great. I probably needed to get a new one, but I'm going to try and keep it flat so I have a nice chisel edge. See, there's not a great chisel edge on that one. And then here, we can pull down and follow the curve. You don't want a ton of paint on your brush doing this, so that it's more muted looking, okay? And you can come back if they're looking too far apart, just to give a little, close in some of those gaps, okay? There. Now right here that looks a little wide still, so I can come back through here and here. Everything comes back to the top of the stem. Okay? And then we'll come over and do the same thing on the smaller one. All right, so on this one, you're not going to really see much of this area right here, so I'm not going to worry about getting close to that stem because we're actually going to do the little frilly strokes that go where it attaches to the underside of the mushroom. So little chisel strokes, and I'm pulling these back on this one because it's a tighter area. So you're just kind of touching it. I think this brush is going to go in the trash when I'm done. It's not keeping a good chisel, but that's okay for this purpose. So following that curve, coming back. See the stronger curve at the back side of it. Short little strokes here to fill in a few. All right, so that's good. Now I'm going to grab a better brush because that one just is not in decent shape. And hopefully this one will be better. Yeah, I should have used that one. Okay, so this one, not so good. All right, so now what we want to do is let's work on our stems and our mushroom caps, okay? And I want to do the stems first because that goes up underneath this and then the cap comes over it. So I'm going to come back to my 12 and we're going to start with linen. So all linen on this 12. And then I'm going to come over here and we're going to side stroke a little bit of burnt umber. Because I don't want it real strong brown, it's just going to tint that linen. And work it in really good. Get some medium. All right, we got lots of paint on our brush. I've been guilty lately of starving my paint. Okay, so right up here, which this part's actually not really going to show that well, so I'm not going to worry too much about it, but I want to just get that under there first. And then with my dark to the left, I'm going to come down and stroke the stem. Get a little more linen. Come around there. But I don't want that to show a curve coming around it. So you have to kind of come up on the chisel and stroke that out a little bit, okay? And we'll come right down in here. And this part's actually not going to show much either, so. Because we're going to stroke grass up there. All right, so that's our stem. And see how we got that little natural shading in there on the left side. So getting more of that color. And we'll come up here and get this top. And then we're going to go at more of an angle down. Keeping that dark to the left. Right, and finish this one. There we go. Oops, got a little wide right there, but that's okay. All right, and then come over here at this guy. Now I want to take my corner, I can get right in there and get that darker on the left side. And come right over this one. A little stronger linen just to kind of cover that edge right there. Okay, now that looks pretty good, but I like to have some streaks and give it a little bit more genuine look. So I'm going to grab a little bit of this asphaltum on the chisel edge of my brush, and we can come right through here on the chisel edge and just sputter. That's a little too much. Let's wipe some of that off. And then take the linen and see what a pretty rusty color that gives it. So I picked up a little more linen, went right over that wet asphaltum, and it gives it a pretty blended color. So let's get a little more asphaltum. I'll put some on here, and then pick up our linen and sweep just with the chisel edge, right? Let's get a little more of that burnt umber right there. Okay, so aren't those fun looking? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and clean that brush, and then we're going to work on our caps. All right, so here we want mostly Pueblo. All right, so these are going to have kind of a light to dark ombre sort of look. So I'm going to start, let's get some medium with that Pueblo, and then I'm going to come in side strokes this yellow ochre. And that's going to give it a bit of a different tone to the Pueblo, but then I also want to lighten that up just a little bit. So I'm going to come and get a little bit of white and work that in a little bit more. All right, so we're blending 3 colors on the left side of this brush. We've got started with Pueblo, added the yellow ochre, and then I'm getting white, but it's not blending light enough. There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do, see that pretty color there? I think that's really pretty. So we're going to come up here with our light color to the tip of the cap. We're going to go down here to the right side. And whoops. And make that swing. See that? Then we can come back up here and we'll come with the Pueblo down to the left side. Let's get a little bit more Pueblo. And we're going to stand up on that curve right there. Add a little medium to your brush. And whoops, let's get a little more of that white. And then chisel. Keeping that light color to that outside edge. I'm going to go ahead and just side stroke some white here because it's not as light as I want it. There we go. Okay. And so as you're coming back with that light edge to the right, as you're coming back to the left and making rounded strokes, right, it's creating that kind of streaky light color. And when you're on paper, of course, you're going to need more medium than if you're on canvas. And I'm just doing it on paper because this is practice. But this would look real pretty as a little greeting card or a canvas, like a trio with different arrangements of the mushrooms. See the light to dark that we have on that. So we're keeping that light edge to the right. All right, so coming back to our colors, side stroking some white on that lighter edge, get a little bit of medium, and let's come up here. So we're going to do a little different on this one because of the shape. We're going to come right through that top part of the cap, and then we're going to keep layering with rounded strokes. So you're going pressure and then standing on the chisel, coming back to the chisel edge around the curve here. Okay. And we'll chisel here, press up, and then lay to the flat around the edge of the cap, and then back to the chisel with a curve down. All right, and then you can just, with the tip of the brush, do a few light strokes up here to soften that out. Isn't that pretty? All right, and then we'll just do this other one. So same as this one, not quite so much as that one. We're going to come up to the cap, make that top rounded. I want a little more white on that light edge. There we go. And let's bring that all the way out here. There. Okay, and then we'll just keep working left to right. Or if you're a lefty, you're going to go right to left. Make that curve. This one comes down. So this one is a different angle, right? We're coming down because it's facing towards you instead of away from you. So you're not seeing underneath this one like you are on the other two. And there we go. Aren't those pretty colors? All right, now to finish these, I'm going to come, let's wipe off that color. And I want to come just side stroke a little bit of white on the light colored edge. Get a touch of medium with that. So it's feeling a little bit pasty. All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to come facing with the light down now. And we're going to stroke right across this edge. And see how I'm twisting the brush, so I come back to more of a horizontal and stop. Okay, so that just creates a little light edge on the front. Right, we start in the flat and then we turn the brush and we stand to the chisel. Okay, and this one we're going to actually come from this edge on the chisel only, leading with the dark, dragging the white behind, creating a little highlight on that front edge. And on this one, we're going to come from the right, and we're going to do the same thing we did on the first one, but we're going to go the opposite direction. See that? Okay. Now I want to let those dry up just a little bit before we put our spots on them. And next thing I want to do is we're going to put the little frilly lacy parts on where the stems meet under the caps. And so with that, what I want is we're going to go with white and burnt umber. So I'm going to grab white and come over here next to my burnt umber and stroke that. I want strong white on the left edge of my brush. Okay. Work that in so that it's not heavy burnt umber all the way across. You want to see that gradation of color there. Get a touch of medium, work it in, and then what you're going to do is you're going to come up under here with the dark up at the top of the cap, and we're going to make little wiggle strokes, right, keeping this straight across the top of that cap. And you can actually, let's come down a little more here, right? And break it up a little bit. So stop the stroke and then start another one. Stop that stroke and then do a third. So let's turn this a little bit. And we'll come from this direction. All right, little frilly strokes. Isn't that pretty? Okay, and then we'll come over here. This one's going to be a little straighter down, right? Layer. See that? How they layered like that? And then let's turn this one. And we'll come back into the middle there. And this one you don't really see, but if you wanted, you could take a smaller brush like this 8 flat. With those same colors. And we could just let a little bit of it peep out from underneath, right here. There. A little bit of it. And if you overlap that cap, it's okay. But that looks kind of pretty. I like having that stick out there. I didn't do that on my original. There. All right, now let's come back to our 12 flat. We need to do some shading. So clean brush, medium. Load it with medium and then get some of this asphaltum. The matte colors tend to skin over. I have my fan going because it's warm in here, but any kind of air tends to, the multi-surface stays wet longer, but the matte tends to skin over. All right, so we're side stroking that asphaltum. And what's going to happen here is we're going to come with the asphaltum to the center, and as it touches that linen on those grooves inside the cap, it creates just a slightly different color. Like a rusty tone to it. Can you see that? And then we'll do that on here too. And come all the way around. So you're just keeping that edge of that brush at the top of that intersection of the lacy frilly part that the cap goes into, or the stem goes into. Okay. Now, finish up our mushroom caps. I'm going to come and get some burnt umber on my 6 flat, and you can add some fun little spots on here. Okay, so we're just going to, don't make them perfect round. And we'll do about 5 on this one. There. Let's do one right here. And then you can just take the corner and tap in some smaller ones. Just kind of slip slap that corner, barely touching in between and to the left of these spots. Okay, like freckles. And then we'll do some on this one. Maybe make a little one right there, and then again, just take that corner and barely touch it, slip slapping like that, and then we'll do the last one. And we'll just do 3 on this one. right, now I'm going to grab my script liner, and we'll get that wet, but we don't want inky. We just want the brush wet, and then we're going to pick up some white, wicker white, on the tip of the brush. And you can come, I'm going to turn this way, and you can come to the bottom of each of these large ones and do just a little highlight stroke. And that wakes them up a little bit. Just on the big spots. And then once I did that, I just came and kind of gently tapped a few little white freckles in between and around the brown ones, okay? Just barely letting my tip tap with my fingernail stopping on the paper. Little taps. Now you could do a lot more with these. You could spend more time doing shading on the caps themselves. I want to get a little bit of inky burnt umber and twist that when you come out. So I just mixed a little water with the burnt umber and then give the brush a twist so that it comes out to a nice tip. All right, and what I did with this was underneath the cap right here, lay it down and stand it up. Push and stand up. It just kind of set that edge highlight a little better. And you don't do it all the way across, right? So just to a tip right here. And then on this side, on this point where the white stops, you're going to touch and then push it down and then stand it up and come around that edge to the back. Okay. All right, so now all we need to do is just kind of set our ground base here. And I'm going to grab, let's lay this flat now. There we go. Now I'm going to grab a mop. So I'm going to get the little 1/2-inch mop here. And I'm going to get a little bit of medium. And we're going to get thicket. So work in thicket on that brush. So we want dark to start with. All right, and we're going to go from here. I'm going to notice my orientation. So I'm horizontal with the chisel edge of the brush, and we're going to touch right here, and we're going to flick up. And you curve a little bit on the edges, go up high in the middle, and actually let's turn it so it's more horizontal. Yeah, we're getting a better movement there. Okay, so we start with this dark green and spray it out on the sides, up straight in the middle. Okay, and then I'm going to get more medium, lots of medium, and let's pick up a little bit of asphaltum with that. So a little bit of asphaltum with that medium and thicket on the brush, and we're going to come from here and you're going to sputter out to that edge. Right, so it looks like it's coming from behind. You make it a little wide right there. More medium. I want more of the asphaltum, not so much of the green, and more medium. And then let's get this side. Here we go. So you're just barely letting the chisel edge of that brush touch, and you're going side to side, kind of scrubbing it a little bit with no pressure though. Just the chisel edge of the brush is touching. right? Then pick up a little bit of white as you come forward. A little more medium with a little bit of white. Set that ground out in front. All right, then wipe that brush off. Come and get, let's get the brush cut grass. All right, and we're going to do a few strokes of that, just flicking it up in front of the thicket. You can actually put a little bit of thicket on the bottom and darken the base. And then get some white, a little bit of white on that lighter edge. So reversing the brush. Little bits of white. Reverse the brush with the dark. And then I finished with a little bit of burnt umber on the chisel of this brush right here. And kind of set that bottom so it's dark at the bottom, and then pull up a few. Okay. All right. Get a little bit medium with what's left on my brush here, and I can come forward just a little bit more. And a touch of white. And there we go. So I'll get my script liner. And let's get the little inky burnt umber. And we'll come right here. So let's back up a bit. And we'll sign that. So that's our fun little mushrooms and ferns. I hope you enjoyed that little lesson, and I hope you give it a try. I know mushrooms used to be real popular back in the 70s, and then they kind of died off, and now they're back again. So give that a try, won't you? That was fun. All right, let's come back up. There we go. So hope you enjoyed that. That was a pretty fun little exercise to do. Lots of fall colors to play with, and you could, you know, change those colors out to something of more of a spring design, and it would be spring mushrooms. So easy to switch that out to match any decor or color choice, right? Okay. Excuse me. So I think I answered questions as I saw them. Need to practice more with your script liner, Judy says. Yep, that it takes practice, and even if you don't have any nails, Greg, you can let the tip of your finger touch down. Learn to adapt. There you go. Just takes practice working, but practice that liner, because you can do a lot with that liner. You can get a lot of great looks. Is fresh cut grass matte? No, that is a multi-surface color. So, okay, thank you. And let me see. I'm sorry. The comments for Facebook are smaller for me to see. So I don't think I saw any questions there, but okay. I don't know what you're talking about. Facebook did something to you. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead, and sorry for the delay there. I just want to make sure I get questions answered, because I don't like leaving without that if I can help it. So let's go ahead and do our drawings. The winners, as usual, are going to go out to my website, Michelle My Belle Designs. Look under Learn to Paint and Downloadable Video Lessons. Choose something $39 or less and message me back with that with your email, so I can send you the information on how to download, and you get that for free for being a great supporter. And I love all of you for helping me. So, oh, quick question here. Any tips for keeping brushes crisp? I think you mean the chisel edge, and that's just making sure you go back to your plate after you've loaded, and going back and giving it a nice firm stroke press to get the chisel edge back if you lose your chisel edge. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to do our quick drawing. I'm going to roll on the YouTube side here, and we have Joanne Thompson. Wonderful. Congratulations, Joanne. So, like I said, go choose the video lesson that you would like to receive of previously recorded videos, downloadable video lessons on Michelle My Belle Designs, and let me know which one you would like. Okay. And then on the Facebook group here, we've got Rebecca Van Dyke. Congratulations, Rebecca. I know you've been doing quite a bit lately with following my video lessons and YouTube stuff too. So thank you for that. Okay, guys. Well, that is our little fun time together tonight. And I so much appreciate you guys spending some of your Saturday evening with me as usual. I hope you have a blessed rest of your weekend. I will not be on next weekend, so I'll see you after the holiday, the following Saturday. And I will post that notice so you know when I'm coming back on, okay? And can't wait to see all of you in Tuesday's class for everybody who signed up. And if you want to get into those September classes, you got lots of time to do that, but don't wait too long, okay? All right, guys, take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.